I wanted to share with you today how to get this breaking glass text effect. I had this picture of my son. He was kind of goofing around for the camera, showing me his game face. But I really love the way it came out, so I kind of want to do something special with it. Might even get it printed almost like a poster. So anyway, I just wanted to share it with you because I thought it was pretty cool. So let's go to the beginning. I have this photo of my son and just going to go ahead and add some text to it. Okay, I'm going to move it into position. And I chose a really big font, a nice thick font. Makes it work better. The spacing between the I and the T was a little close for my liking. So what I did is I put my cursor in between the two of them and brought up my character palette. And then this V/A, I just went in there and went down to 25. It gave it a little bit more space, and I like that better. Again, using my move tool, repositioning that, and I like the way that is. Okay, the only thing is I want the text to be black. I want this to be pretty dark. So I'm going to change my text color to black, but then you can't see it. So I'm just going to hide my background for a little while as we work, so this way you could see what's going on. So the first thing you want to do with your text layer activated, you're going to go up to Filter, down to Render, and Lens Flare. I'm sorry, we have to rasterize the type layer first. So we'll go ahead and rasterize it. And these are my settings. I've got a brightness of 218, the lens type of 50 to 300 millimeter zoom. You could see this plus sign right here, and this helps you position your light. And just after a little bit of trial and error, I just found that these settings worked best for my really dark text, especially because it's on a black background. So you might find that you can play around with these settings a little bit and you won't need the exact same settings, but this is what worked best, for my photo and my type. So I hit OK, and then we're going to go back up to Filter again, back down to Render again, and this time go to Difference Clouds. And why didn't that work? Come on. Oh, I know why it didn't work. Because I've got black in both the foreground and background color, so I'm just going to put the default on that and go to Filter, Render, Difference Clouds. And then we're going to change the hue of that to, we're going to desaturate it. So I'm using Command-Shift-U on my keyboard. Yours is probably Control-Shift-U if you're using a PC. And that will desaturate the colors. And then we're going to go up to Filter, Filter Gallery, and underneath Distort, click on Glass, and then these are the settings. Distortion 20, Smoothness 2, Texture Frosted, and Scaling 100. Once you have those, you could click OK, and there's your text. Okay, but now we want to get it set to be able to break it and shatter the glass. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this layer. So I'm doing Command J on my keyboard. If you're on a PC, it's Control J, and that will duplicate the layer. And actually, I'm sorry, that's not what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. What we're going to do is we're going to duplicate each layer individually, because I found that in doing it, some of the letters needed to be widened and lengthened more than others. So using the marquee tool up here, you could press M on your keyboard. We're going to select each layer and duplicate it onto its each letter and duplicate it onto its own layer. So once I have the letter B, I'm going to Command J and duplicate it, and if you want, you can right away go ahead and name it B, and then click on the Bring It layer again, and we're going to do the same thing, selecting the letter R, Command J to duplicate it, or Control J, R, and go back on the next, and we're going to do that for every letter. Click back on the Bring It layer. Almost done. I. Okay, now once we have them all done, what we're going to do is we're going to transform each of those letters. So we'll start back up at the top. We'll go to the B layer, and I can hide the background here. Well, actually, we want to keep it on because you want to be able to see how you're stretching it out. So on the B layer, we're going to hit Command T or Control T, and we're going to stretch that letter out a bit until you start to see a space between the letters, because you don't really want to have any holes there. I'm going to hit Enter, and I'm actually going to duplicate that layer that I just stretched out, and I'm going to bring it down a little because I really want to fill in the space all the way down. The other thing that I want to do is I also want to stretch the letters out a little bit sideways. So again, using the Command T, I'm just going to kind of stretch it out a little. Nothing needs to be perfect here. Okay, going to the letter R. Same thing, Command T. I'm going to stretch it down. But then you see over here at the R where there's an opening between the stretched out letter and the original, so I kind of want to fill that space in a little bit. Hit Enter, and I'm going to go to the I, and I'm going to stretch that one out this way. I'm also going to stretch it out sideways and move it back. The letter N. Stretch that down and stretch it out a little, and then I'm just going to kind of reposition it. So, and we're going to do that for all of them. Here's G. Stretch this bad boy out. Stretch it this way too. Reposition it, and the G I'm going to duplicate for the same reason I did with the B, because you wind up with a little bit of a space there. So I'm going to duplicate that stretched out version and just fill in some of the space. I'm going to go to the I now, transform it, stretch it out, directions, reposition it a little, and with the T, I'm going to do the same thing. I could even take the corner, hold down the Shift key, stretch it out. You notice with the I didn't drag it all the way down to the bottom. I do want to do that. So I'm going to go back to the I, Command T or Control T again, and I'm just going to stretch that all the way down. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to combine all of those together. I'm going to combine all of the individual letters. I'm going to shift on the first one, which is down here, the T. I'm going to go all the way back up to this B copy, and then I'm going to Command E or Control E, which merges them all together. Then I'm going to add a mask to it. And now what I'm going to do is I want to hide that. So I'm going to Command I or Control I is going to fill that mask in with black, and it's going to hide all of that. Now I'm going to go to my Bring It layer, and I'm going to add a mask to that one also. However, this one I do want to be white. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually start erasing a little bit of the Bring It layer, just to make it look like pieces of glass are starting to chip off of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit our brush tool. You can press B on the keyboard, or you can come over here, click on the brush tool, and we want to load our square brushes. So basically what you want to do is you want to come over here. Once you have your brush tool Let me go through that more slowly. Activated, you go up here to this drop-down menu, click the arrow, and then you're going to click over to this gear wheel. And there's going to be down the bottom different brushes that you can load, and we're going to go ahead and load the square brushes. Replace current brushes with square, and just say yes. Okay, and if it says do you want to save, then you need to decide whether or not you want to save. I'm going to be using a 10 pixel square brush right now. I may find later that I want to change that size. The other thing that you need to do is we're going to come over here to Shape Dynamics, and we're going to play around with some of these settings. I am by no means a brush expert, so a lot of this is just trial and error. With the size jitter, I'm just going to start moving some stuff over until it looks about right to me. I'm not going to mess with the roundness. Let's go to the scatter here. We're going to scatter on both the X and the Y axes. Okay. See how they're coming apart there. And count. Okay, that's a little too close. I like them to be a little bit spaced out. So we're going to keep the count down at 1. And I'm not really sure what this is doing. So we'll just leave it like that. I'll go back to the Shape Dynamics. Mess around with this a little more. See how it looks. Angle jitter is just kind of messing around with the way the squares, whether they're 90 degrees or stuff like that. And like I said, roundness we're not going to use. And I'll do the flip the X and the Y. Okay, let's close that up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start taking pieces away just by clicking on it a little bit. Okay. And this is all non-destructive, so if we decide that we don't like it, we can come back and fix it. I'm going to change the size a little bit. Go down a little smaller. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to this B copy layer and make sure that the mask is highlighted. And down below, I'm going to start, you want your foreground color to be white. So I'm going to hit X on the keyboard. That'll swap them out. And then down below, I'm going to start just kind of filling in. I'm going to, don't go that high. And I found that, I want to make this a little smaller. I think the 10 is better. I found that what I really liked, I'm just going to zoom in here so we could see a little more of what we're doing. I really liked to come close to the edges of the letters here so that we didn't have any, totally straight edges. And you can start seeing a little bit of what that looks like. In between, because we did add some space in between there. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the bring it, and let's see, I think I'm going to make it a little smaller than 10, not quite that small, let's go 6, and pull. I'm going to swap my foreground color again, and take a few more pieces out. The actual bring one right there. I think I went a little too much on the G. I'm just going to backtrack Command Z. Take some of that out. Again, a little too far on the T. And there you have it. It's pretty much as simple as that. When we put it back on my photo, you can see it looks pretty cool. It's a little dark because it blends in with the background there. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a snapshot of this in case what I do next doesn't work, which is always smart to do. Then I'm going to combine these two layers, and actually I probably don't even have to do that, so let me just go back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a hue saturation. I'm just going to lighten it a little, but I'm going to add this one to that layer and this one to that layer, so that we're not saturating we're not saturating the photo. See, so that, because it was so dark on the edges, just kind of lightened it up a little bit. And there you have it. The only thing that I would probably change here is with the Bring It. I would want to have some more broken glass like in between and off to the sides of it a little bit, so I probably needed to stretch my letters out a little bit more, but that's pretty much the gist of it. And that's what you do. I'd love to see if you try this technique. Please feel free to start a thread going in the forum if you try it, and or chuck it in the gallery, and let's see if you did it and how it worked. Thanks for stopping by.